This newscast is brought to you by Belize Bank Action Plan Loans, financial assistance when you need it the most.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Wednesday, November 21st. I'm Marlene Cuellar. You don't have to go to the University of Belize to know that the higher one climbs on the educational ladder, the greater the preponderance of females. Combine that trend with our daily crime reports featuring almost entirely young males, and you realize that Belize is faced with a major challenge. And we're not the only ones. This week, education experts from around the region are gathered in Belize City to look for answers. News 5's Kendra Griffith has the story.
Some of the boys, they have too many distractions.
Well, we lads have a lot to distract us. Mainly lasses, of course.
Girls are better in school because they are not as much influenced by the violence as boys.
Those were the opinions of young men from Belize, Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago. The videos were produced by UNICEF to explore the issue of boys and education. This week, UNICEF, in association with CARICOM, brought together more than 40 participants from all over the Caribbean to discuss why boys are underrepresented in educational institutions and what can be done to reverse the trend.
In all the countries for which we had data, and this comes from the CARICOM publication, Men and Women in the Caribbean, enrollment at the primary level, as shown by the blue line on the graph, favored males. By the time you get to the secondary level, enrollment favors girls, and therefore confirms the idea that we have quite a high dropout between the primary level and the secondary level of our male students.
The trend continues at the tertiary level, but when the mean performance of the two genders was compared, it was found that both boys and girls receive similar scores. So why are the boys dropping out? Professor Barry Chavans of UWI has a theory.
We have begun to see the rise of other opportunities, other ways that boys can in fact effectively get ahead, you know. We think of sports, or think of the arts, we think of as well even the drug trade.
So education is no longer the primary means of being successful?
That's right, that is right. That is how many boys, not all, but many boys, too large a minority of them really seem to be perceiving the system. That is what it is all about.
It is a situation that concerns Belize's Chief Education Officer, Maud Hyde.
It's fair enough to say it's more recent. I think it has gradually crept up on us, so we may have overlooked where the concerns really started from. But I think particularly in recent years, if you look at the higher levels of the education system, particularly at, say, upper primary and then moving into secondary and tertiary, you'd notice that the attendance of boys decline as you move higher up into the system.
According to data from the Statistical Institute of Belize, in 2004-2005, there were just under 33,000 boys and little more than 30,800 girls enrolled in primary school. While only 66% of the males graduated from that level, 75% of the girls did. When it came to secondary school, enrollment that same year was 7,833 boys and 8,267 girls. The young women would once again boast higher completion rates with 73.8%, while the males came in at just under 60%. But the male-female disparity was the greatest at the tertiary level institutions. In the 2004-2005 school year, junior colleges had 990 young men and 1,400 young women. At the University of Belize, there were twice as many women, 1,242, compared to only 708 men. Hyde is hoping that the seminar can help the Ministry of Education address the disturbing trend.
It will give us an opportunity to look more closely at our own local situation and be able to learn something from other countries by way of perhaps putting in place some kinds of activities that will help us to stem the problem before it gets bigger.
The evidence is there. this is a critical moment. We really must start to do something to address the situation of quality in our education systems across the board, but with boys in particular in mind, because the costs of us not doing something are enormous. Let me just, in repetition alone, countries in the Caribbean are paying $12 billion per year in funding repetition.
According to UNICEF representative in Belize, Rana Flowers, they plan to have some concrete recommendations by the time the seminar ends on Thursday.
What we're going to do by the end of tomorrow is come up with several actions, and each of the participants is tasked with this, that they will then carry back to their own countries. We have a couple of major CARICOM meetings happening in March of next year. There's a special meeting on children, and then again in the Heads of Government meeting in July in CARICOM. And those are moments where we want to see, and this is where CARICOM collaborating with us on this meeting is key, we want to see the policy leaders, the political leaders of these countries make a commitment to really doing something different.
Yes, it is correctable. That's right, it is correctable. What you have to do is to make education much more meaningful to our young males. They need to feel a part of it. They need to feel that they can become men, within the education system. In fact, we need to show them that without education, they really can't become men. That is how it has to be framed.
I wanted to stop because my mom is bad right now, so I'm not strive for find work to help my mom. So.
Media have a strong influence on them because of the music that they listen to, and then they're also outside influenced by their friends, drugs, drinking alcohol.
Kendra Griffith reporting for News 5.
It is worth noting that despite the educational achievements of women, they are still less likely to find jobs and continue to receive lower salaries than their male counterparts.